space to talk to whoever you want. I want to go and talk to the Royal Mermaids. Find a way to reach the Monta and set up a second radio repeater. Look for the rest of Ace's logbook. Snake squeezing salary fell in with on his way to the radio tower. General Vargas might want to hear about it. Bring Ace's star home. Okay. I think we can try and see if we can get back home. Let's see what's this way. Yes. Little eavesdropping can yield useful information. So they count that mission successful. Hold on, who's this? Captain Pepper. Can't stop to chat. Team Echo, Team Able always got. I love it when the plans comes together. Always got a job to do. Excuse me. Good to see you, recruits. The General informed me that you've completed your mission in Ag Center and now have full Ranger privileges. Sweet. Welcome to Ranger Citadel. Ah, sweet. Okay. Please come inside. I will do so. Ranger Citadel. Another one. Captain Hunter. Team Echo, isn't it? Nice to put a face to a name. I'm Captain Hunter, Team Delta. Your team doesn't look like the other teams we've met. That's because we're different from the other teams. You've met special ops. Aren't all Rangers Operation Special? What makes yours different? Well, let's just say with the Ranger team, Vargas calls when the other Ranger teams get out of line. Ooh, goodbye. You seeing you, chum? Okay. Though these massive vault-like elevator doors have been polished to a military-grade shine, you can see small amounts of warping and tiny scuffs like the remnants of scorch marks all around the edges. If you had to guess, the Rangers have tried everything from arc welding torches to C4 to open this behemoth with no success. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. Turrets.
Hey, Woodson! What do you hear?
Sergeant Wade, everything. Angela, everything. Okay, Wade Woodson. Sergeant Wade Woodson is one of the most technically minded members of the Rangers. He's wearing a makeshift pair of glasses and is still starting to grade at the temples.
Welcome, recruits. Nice to make your acquaintance. Good work saving the day and attaching the repeater units at Ag Center. The General and I thank you. Now I'm guessing you're here to learn more about these mysterious broadcasts you've been helping us with.
Tell us more about these broadcasts.
We don't know where they're coming from, or who's making them. Hell, they could be old pre-war recordings for all we know. But we've been hearing them since the skies started to clear. And they've got a threatening sound to them, so we've been trying to learn more about them. Which is what we sent Ace out to do when that robot murdered him. Now you've already attached one of our repeater units to the radio tower at the Ag Center. But because you were unable to do the same at Highpool, we're in a bit of a bind. See, we intended to make a Watson-Watt Adcock antenna array using those two towers. Our tower here, and the tower where Ace died. Linking those four would have allowed us to pinpoint the origin of the signal. Now, however, we're going to have to try to find the radio tower the General already mentioned to you in Damanta. If it even exists.
Got all that? Good. You've heard of Damanta?
I've been hearing the Red Scorpions radio chatter about this place for more than a year now. They claim it's somewhere beyond the eastern radiation clouds. I hope they're right. The radio tower that Gilbert says is rumored to be there could be our only hope for tracking down those mysterious broadcasts.
What's a Watson Watt Adcock antenna array?
You sure you want to hear this? Most people's eyes glaze over when I start getting technical.
Yeah, sure.
Really? Okay, you asked for it. So with the traditional Watson-Watt method of radio direction finding techniques, it is possible to find the direction from which a radio signal was transmitted using two Adcock antenna pairs to perform an amplitude comparison on the incoming signal. An Adcock antenna pair is a pair of antennas that take the vector difference of the received signal
Eyes glazing over.
so that there is only one output from the pair of antennas. Two of these pairs generate what can be referred to as north-south and east-west signals, which will then be passed to the receiver. In the receiver, the bearing angle can be computed by taking the arctangent of the radio of the north-south to east-west signal. Given any four antennas of a known distance from each other, this method can establish a very accurate directional vector on an incoming signal.
Hold on. I'm still on the first sentence. Amplitude comparison on the incoming signal. So you need four antennas with known distances between them. And each pair forms a group that you compare. North-south, so from one to the other, east-west, and then use those to establish a directional vector on an incoming signal, obviously.
Satisfied?
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry you weren't able to save Highpool. Its reservoir and treatment plant provided water for us and the other communities in the area. It will be sorely missed.
Ag Center, what do you know about Ag Center?
I'm so glad you were able to save Ag Center. They're doing so much to develop hardier animal and plant stock that will survive out here in the wastes. It would have been a real blow to have lost them.
So, what is a repeater unit again?
We use the repeater units to boost a weak radio signal out in the field and transmit the data back to the Citadel. And let me tell you, it was hell trying to find enough parts to make the ones we needed, which is why I'm so glad you were able to find the ones Ace was carrying.
What do the skies have to do with it?
Well, it's only a theory, but my guess is that the fallout that's been floating around up there in the ionosphere since the war has been muddying things up there, stopping long-range broadcasts from being reflected back to Earth. Now maybe the fallout is starting to decay, and the ionosphere is slowly returning to normal, allowing it to reflect radio waves like it used to back in the good old days. Or not. I only know what I read in salvage books.
Whatever caused it, we're definitely picking up more distant radio signals these days than we were able to even 3 months ago. What do you think of General Vargas?
Well, I'm not going to say anything bad about the General when I'm sitting right next to him, am I?
Hmm?
You better not, Woodson. I'll take away your smokes ration.
See? But seriously, I think the General has been a wise and cautious leader these past 15 years. Some of the boys may think he keeps it a little too cautious, but they're not the ones who have to feel the calls when good men die. Since we started hearing these strange broadcasts, he decided that the quiet times are over, and his place is here, on the air, listening to the people of the wastes and sending his troops into battle.
Quiet. What do you mean by quiet?
Well, we spent the 15 years since we defeated the base code chief's AI retrenching, rebuilding the Citadel, rebuilding our numbers, solidifying our position. It made us a stronger organization, I think. But we also have a smaller footprint now, and some of the places we used to patrol have kind of fallen off the map. Now, though, I think it's time to wake up. The world is changing. These crazy broadcasts, the Red Scorpions in the old prison, reports of trade routes to the east, where we thought there was nothing but radiation. If the Rangers still want to be a force for good in the world, then we gotta start stepping out beyond our own backyard.
Cochise? The base Cochise AI? What's that?
It was the Rangers' greatest enemy, though really all it was a malfunctioning machine. The mainframe of a pre-war military facility that somehow got it into its circuit board head that everybody in the world was its enemy. It started pumping out robots to defend itself. And if we hadn't stopped it, those robots could have killed everyone in Arizona.
Who are the Red
The
Scorpion?
Red Scorpion Militia. They took over the old prison when we moved out. Not really much more than a raider gang. But they're starting to tell everybody that they're the real law in Arizona. And they're asking people to call them for help instead of us. Maybe they're really trying to shape up, but I doubt it. Sounds more like an old-fashioned shakedown scheme to me.
Anything to say about the prison?
Our old home base. Not bad for what it was, but we've been outgrowing it for decades. When we cleared the previous owners out of this place, we saw an opportunity to make a move.
East of what?
We always thought the radiation east of the prison was just too strong, and that travel that way was impossible. But now the Scorpions are claiming they've established trade with a community beyond the radiation called Damanta, and also with a group calling themselves the Servants of Titan. We're not welcome in Scorpion territory, so we can't check the truth of all of this. But they do seem to be getting better weaponry from somewhere, so maybe it's legit.
Thanks for the info, Woodson.
All right. Good luck out there. You'll be hearing from us. A tough choice, recruits, with no good outcomes. Still, you chose well. Ag Center is crucial to our plans for Arizona.
Ah, there's General Vargas. I was like, where's General Vargas? Is he wearing a hat?
Welcome back to
Long
Ranger
hair?
Citadel, recruits.
A stiff-bearded older man wearing a hard-worn ranger uniform and a battered old cowboy hat. General Vargas walks with a cane, but he's not helpless. He wears a pearl-handled revolver on his hip, and there are a lot of notches on the barrel.
So you saved Ag Center at the expense of Highpool. A tough decision, and I know it must weigh heavily on your minds. But a choice had to be made, and once you chose Ag Center, you did all you could to save it and its people. I'm particularly pleased that you went out of your way to help Matt Forrestal. He was a great ranger, and remains a credit to our organization now that he's left. Also, let me personally thank you for finding Ace's killer, whatever it was. I'm sorry your initiation into the Rangers has been such a trial by fire, but you've proven yourself tough under pressure, and in my eyes, that makes you fit to be a Ranger. You have earned the name. Welcome aboard, Rangers. Now, any questions?
Lots of it. We found a page from Ace's logbook, sir.
Did you? Excellent work. Let me have a look. Not much here, is there? Let me see. Fell in with a snake squeezing cellar. Okay. Getting that feeling of being followed. Damn, tells a sad story, doesn't it? Guess what came out of the dark was that damn killer robot. Well, looks like your best lead is to find this snake squeezing salesman, whoever he is. Mentions Rail Nomad here, so have a look there if you haven't already. Maybe this fella knows something more, like where the rest of the logbook is.
Citadel. Thank you for letting us into the Citadel, sir.
It is your home now, recruits. A place to rest and resupply between missions. A place to learn and to share your knowledge with others. But it's more than that. Despite its tarnished history, the Citadel is a force for good, a shining beacon of justice in a dark land, a bulwark against barbarism in a world of lawlessness and brutality. Indeed, it is the furrowed field out of which the seeds of order will grow into a new and better civilization. Hey, forgive me. Get carried away sometimes, but I do believe we are making a difference despite my shortcomings, and that our flame must not be allowed to be snuffed out. That's why we need young, motivated recruits like yourselves.
I love how this guy's secondary weapon, the pickaxe, just hangs there. Sergeant Melson. Can you tell us about Sergeant Melson, sir? Who's Sergeant Melson? Resupply Rangers. Any advice for us, sir, now that we're officially Rangers?
You are our next generation recruits, and I want you to make us proud. Remember that every action you take reflects directly upon the Desert Rangers as a whole. We've worked hard to gain the trust of the people of Arizona, and to have them accept our authority. Keep that in mind every time you draw your weapon or make a promise. The lives of other Rangers and the rule of law depend on your wisdom, honor, and forbearance.
Anything else you can tell me about Ace, sir?
Ace and I went way back to the prison days. We fought Finster and the base Cochise robot army together. We rebuilt the Citadel from scratch. That I sent him on the mission which got him killed hangs heavy on my heart, and Angie's never gonna forgive me.
Angie? You know Angie well, sir? She's in my team, she's like right there.
Well enough not to talk behind her back when she's standing right in front of me. Hey Angie, how you holding up?
Better now, General. I'm only crying 8 hours out of every day now, instead of 16.
There we go.
Ain't no shame in grieving, Angie. No shame at all.
Cochise? What happened with base Cochise?
Place was nearly the death of us. Hell, it was nearly the death of the whole human race. Damned malevolent mainframe churning out an endless army of robots. If we hadn't stopped it, well, I hate to think.
Finster? What's the deal with Owen John Finster?
Craziest jackalope we ever faced. Might have been human once. Might have been sane too. But when we met him, he was a crazy android bent on wiping out the human race and replacing us all with mutants. Got his head in our museum if you want to take a look.
Well, but gruesome. Anything to say about the prison?
Our old stomping grounds, since right after the apocalypse. We moved out of there about 15 years ago when we took over this place. It wasn't a bad place, but the Citadel is more defensible. The Red Scorpions have moved into the prison since then. Nasty bunch from all accounts.
Red Scorpions? What do you think of the Red Scorpions, sir?
They call themselves the Red Scorpion Militia now, and lately they've been filling the airwaves with a lot of trash about how they're the real law and order around here. Just another raider gang, if you ask me. I don't give them the time of day.
Shortcoming? Surely not.
I've been too cautious, recruits. Since we took this place over 15 years ago, I focused too much on keeping the peace in areas we know, and not enough on outside threats. I wanted to rebuild, get our numbers up, but all I've really been doing is letting the world pass us by. Well, that's gotta change, and the change starts with you. You are going to find out where this threat is coming from.
Place to learn, sir?
We have a library here, where we compile maps and information about the region to help us with our work. If you want to know about any old tech or ancient knowledge, go talk to old Flintlock there. If you've got map questions, see Gilbert. He's our cartographer.
Interesting. Gilbert, sir?
Gilbert was another one of my squad. We called him Thrasher back in the day. A good man to have in a tight spot. Past his fighting days now, though. Took a wound during the Battle of Base Cochise and never fully recovered. Now, he's our cartographer and damn good at it. You'll find him in the museum with Flintlock.
Who is Flintlock, sir?
Flintlock was old when I was your age. Now he's ancient. Knows more about the history of the Desert Rangers than any man alive. And he'll tell you so himself.
Resupply? What? Where can we resupply, sir?
You'll want to talk to our quartermaster, Sergeant Melson, about that. He'll provide you with all the weapons, armor, and gear you need to carry out your duties in the Wastelands. You may also want to talk to Ethel Mercaptain or TNT-10 if you need something special.
TNT-10. Or Lieutenant 10.
Our munitions expert. Crazy bastard is gonna blow us all up one day. Does good work though. In the field, His ordnance is highly reliable. It's just his workshop that scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, it's those probably those TNT and pipe bombs and stuff. It's a little bit dangerous. Killer. You think it was more than just a robot, sir?
I don't know. Ace fought plenty of robots in his time, and they never gave him any trouble. So I'm wondering if this was something new, something worse. And if it is, we better find out. Listen, if you brought that thing back with you, or even just a part of it, show it to Mercaptain over in the armory, like I said. She might be able to ID it. And here, take this with you when you bring something to Mercaptain. It's a requisition form for some of Mercaptain's top shelf gear. For finding Ace's killer, you deserve it.
I'll take that. Who is Ethel Mercaptain, sir?
One of the brightest minds in the Citadel. She's really helped us get our weapons and armor up to scratch, and she's always coming up with new and better stuff. Worth a visit just to see what she's got cooking.
Sergeant Woodson? Who is Wade Woodson, sir?
Woodson's that man right over there, my radio wingman. The man who keeps me on the air. If you want to know more about the repeater units, or how to use your radio, see him.
Okay. Sergeant Melson? Can you tell us about Sergeant Melson, sir?
Melson's alright. A bit young, a bit rowdy, a bit gung-ho. But the Rangers need that now. We need new blood, like yourselves. Make us proud, recruits.
Hey, General. How's the leg?
Fine, Angie. Hope you're feeling better.
It comes and goes, Snake. You know.
Yeah, I do.
Sergeant Barry Jackson and Staff Sergeant Scorpio. And Wade Woodson. Wonder if it keeps got
Back
new,
again, recruits. What can I help you with? All right. Good luck out there.
They haven't got
You'll
new
be
stuff.
hearing from us.
Oh, wait. Let me just do a quick save before. If you ring by and stick out to you, the spine reads memories of my time in the Rangers by General S. Vargas. Part 1. Introduction. A Ranger Simak has asked me to write down my memories of how I joined the Rangers and what it was like fighting our battle against the robots of Base Cheese. Can't say I see the point. He's already got all the details written down in his official history. Why do I need to rehash a story I've already told 100 times before? I have to admit though, there are some things history books don't tell you. The little things in between the big things. That's where real life happens, not a damn history book. Alright, Simak, you talked me into it. Here goes. Chapter 1. Hometown Hero. This may surprise some folks, I suppose, but not all us Rangers are the descendants of the original Rangers. In fact, there's less and less hereditary Rangers every year. For instance, I grew up in a little town not too far south of the old Ranger Center. It was a mostly Hispanic community, all farmers and sheep herders, and so isolated from the rest of the West that I didn't hear English spoken until I was 10. I was a golden boy back home, not for the gun skills I've since grown famous for, I didn't have those yet, but for my talents as a medic, which I learned at my mother's knee, she being the only doctor in town. I learned a heck of a lot more about patching up bullet wounds once I joined the Rangers, but even back then I knew enough meatball surgery that I was always picked to come along on scavenging and hunting trips in case of accident or attack. For a long time our little town was a pretty peaceful little place, but then one day a band of Rangers found us and decided that what was ours should be theirs. They surrounded us and demanded we give them every last bit of our salvage and our livestock and our children. When we refused, they came in, guns blazing. Our people were cut down like tall grass, and I was planning to go die bravely with all the rest. My mother, however, had other plans and chewed me out royally, saying that staying and dying was selfish heroism when we could save lives by rescuing others and leaving. So we gathered as many kids as we could find and escaped with them and a few other adults. It felt strange to be running like cowardice, but if we'd stayed and fought, we would have died and those kids would have become slaves, so I did my best not to feel guilt. But the guilt hit hard once we got those kids to the next town and my mother died. Turned out she'd been hiding a gunshot wound the whole time. I think I must have gone crazy with rage after that. The problem was, I didn't know who I was mad at. My mother for hiding the wound, myself for not seeing that she was hurt, the kids we'd rescued for slowing us down, all the raiders who'd shot us in the first place. In the end I decided the raiders would be the easiest to take revenge on, so I set out with some of the other survivors to hunt them down. It was while me and old Joe Thomas, Pops and Susie were tracking those raiders that I acquired my old nickname, Snake. I could tell you how, but I won't. A man's gotta have some secrets, particularly when the story isn't as interesting as the name. Anyway, we didn't stay together very long after we'd found the raiders and blown them all to Kingdom Come. There just hadn't been much of anything keeping us together except our fixation on revenge. And when that went away, we each went our separate ways. Me, I drifted for a while, thinking I'd do one thing, then thinking I'd do another, but it gnawed at me that my revenge on those raiders hadn't given me satisfaction. My town was still gone, my mother was still dead, and I was still lost, and I decided, in my youthful naivety, that maybe what I needed to do was kill more raiders. And the best way I needed to do that was to become a desert ranger. Chapter 2. From Stranger to Ranger. I walked up to Ranger Center not knowing what to expect. It wasn't exactly an inviting looking place, which figures, what with it being a prison and all, but the rangers were friendly enough and I soon learned it wasn't too hard to become a desert ranger. If you could shoot, understand orders and follow them, that was good enough, and if you could patch up wounds and drive a jeep or work a radio, even better. You got your Circle Star badge and your hat right there on the spot, no questions asked. And if you later turned out to be an untrustworthy son of a bitch who was using the Star and Desert Ranger name for his own personal gain, why, they just shot you and that was it. Pretty much the same system we have today, now that I come to think of it. Anyway, like I said, they welcomed me with open arms, partly because I was a good medic and a good shot, and partly because they were pretty short-handed at the time. That hasn't changed much either, has it? I guess it never does. Since the end of the world, the bad guys have always outnumbered the good, and there's never a lack of wrongs for us to right. Training was mostly learning how to shoot people rather than how to deal with conflicts in a peaceful manner. We didn't even learn a code of ethics to abide by. Hopefully that's changed now. Don't get me wrong, a bullet is often still the best answer to a problem, but it should always be the last as well. I met my future squad mates pretty early in the training program, each with a sillier name than the last: Angela Death, Hellraiser and Thrasher. Honestly, we didn't get along that well at first. I found Angela's brash manner and constant joking grating. Thrasher just seemed like an angry, ornery bull, and Hellraiser didn't seem to have any self-control at all, in combat or out. I don't know if we would have stuck together at all if not for Sergeant Dalton, who recognized early on how well our skills meshed together. My tactics and marksmanship combined with Thrasher's toughness and brute strength, Angela's uncanny ability to smash past locks, as well as hold her own in a fight, and Hellraiser's berserker combat style and desert survival skills made us into an unstoppable fighting unit, and it was that recognition that we fit together so well that I think eventually made us friends, as well as squad mates. I thank Dalton to this day for forcing us to stay together through the rough patches at the beginning. I wish he'd lived long enough to see what we've made of ourselves now. Sadly, he died on patrol leading another band of new recruits just before I made captain. Damn shame. For a while, the four of us just lived the daily grind of the Desert Ranger, scouting and foraging missions, patrolling our territory and checking in on the town and farms under our protection, but then, way before we were ready, something serious came along. It started as just another patrol, making of the rounds to Highpool and Ag Center, but what followed was the making of us. Though there were several times along the way that could have been the breaking of us too. But like I said, I'm not telling that story. You can read about that in Zimak's history book. Instead, I'll tell you about what happened after. Okay. Ooh. A stark functional room that smells of gun oil and leather. Behind a counter protected by a steel banker's cage, you see rows of metal shelves going back into darkness. The shelves are piled with weapons, armor, uniforms and other gear. There are also filing cabinets along one wall and clipboards hanging from nails beside a message board. Standing at the counter is a beefy young sergeant. He gives you a sly smile and an exaggerated salute as you enter. Yes. Grenadier Steel Dawn. Ranger Robert Bowden. Recruit, huh? Me too. Better see Captain Captain at the drawing board. She's always likes to welcome the new kids. A door. You've seen many like it.
Ah, the heroes of Ag Center. Welcome. I've been expecting you.
Captain Ethel Mercaptain. Looking closer, you see that the woman isn't quite as youthful as she seems. There are a few grey hairs among the brown and a lot of lines around her eyes, but she sketches with keen-eyed intensity of a younger woman.
A very tough decision, considering it was your first time out. Ag Center was a good choice, though. There are great scientists over there.
You knew we were coming?
Every new recruit the General brings in gets around to visiting us eventually. The weapons and armor we make are what keep them alive, after all. Most are curious where they come from. I imagine you're no exception.
What do you think of General Vargas?
Vargas is a man of vision and prudence. I know a lot of the Rangers think he's too cautious, but I can't agree. Slow and steady is the way to go. He's done an amazing job rebuilding the Rangers after our war with the robots from Base Cochise, and we're stronger than ever before. That doesn't mean, however, that we should now go charging off to fight everybody and their brother. We must expand gradually and fully assess all threats before taking action.
Cochise? What was Base Cochise?
A pre-war research facility dedicated to the science of robotics. Its mainframe was malfunctioning and kept building more and more robots and sending them out to defend itself against imaginary enemies. The Rangers destroyed the computer and the robots and saved the world, which is, of course, a good thing, but, well, I wish I had been a Ranger then. From all reports, the sophistication of the computer's AI was incredible, and its death was a great loss to science. I can't help thinking that, had I been there, I might have been able to find a way to shut it down without destroying it. What a tool for good it could have been.
Right. What threats do we face?
The others say that our biggest threat is the Red Scorpion